So yesterday, President Biden issued a Student Loan Forgiveness Act. It is a relief to help people who have borrowed sufficient amounts of money to go to college and are unable to pay that back. Now, this topic could be perceived as controversial, but sometimes controversial topics have to be touched on. And the reason why I want to touch on this topic is because there's a lot of analogies to modern day slavery and prior day slavery back when we were on the fields treated like animals, what they called chattel slavery. While that was gruesome and while that was something that we can't even imagine the stuff that they went through now, to think that slavery has been eradicated would be a lie because slavery is still present to this day. It's just not physical anymore. It's mental, and they keep it mental by having you enslaved through debt. Debt, as we know, in the Bible, it says that the borrower is always slave to the lender. And if we play out a scenario where I give you $4,000 and I don't have to do anything for the rest of the year, but I charge you a 25% interest payment, you now have to pay me $1,000 each and every year that loan is in term. And at the end of it, I collect everything back at maturity. So it's a perfect way for the people who have the money to take advantage of the people who don't have the money. But as far as student loan forgiveness, we have to think about two sides of the coin because one side, we have people who are going to be forgiven for their student loans, people who may be going through difficult situations in the moment, which is going to be great for them because now they're going to have some more money to spend towards other bills per se. But what about the people who have had a realization of the wealth that they lost because they paid their student loans back maybe a couple years ago? And now they can contemplate in their mind and think about what if I just waited an extra 2 to 3 years and decided to kick the can down the road even further? Maybe I wouldn't have to pay as much back as I did back then. So there's going to be people who have an unfair realization of the wealth that they lost. Also, we have to think about why this rule or why this relief really went into effect. And I think the primary reason the Democratic Party is not concerned about the relief of taxpayers and citizens paying back their student loans. They're more concerned about manipulating the midterm election results to keep Democratic seats in the House. We have to think about the timing. Timing is everything in life. The timing that this relief took place is just too good to be true. Only 2 months before the midterm elections, this surfaces. Then we have to think about that. How ironic is that? And we also have to think about how President Joe Biden has put himself front and center as the superhero who has reduced inflation. But what most people also aren't talking about is how he tapped into the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. This is a reason oil prices went down, causing gas prices to go down, causing inflation to go down. It's a big correlation. But the thing is, it is known, it is a known political fact that if you are in the House, if you have a seat in the House and you're the president, people are going to be less likely to vote for you again if you have them under a drastic rate or a drastic upshift in the rate of inflation. So this is something that is also ironically timed so perfectly with the midterm election. And this is something we have to be aware of because they do not have our best interest at heart. It may seem like this. I always say the Conservative Party is more overt with their tactics, while the Democratic Party is more covert. They try to manipulate things and act like they're your friends, but lo and behold, they're also playing you too. But back to the student debt forgiveness, one of the things I also want to touch on is the fact that if we look back at 1972, when the average cost to go to university was roughly around $2,000, I always look at that and I say, wow, why was college so cheap back then compared to now? And even though we have to adjust the prices for inflation, which I'm not going to calculate in this video, we have to think about the huge discrepancy between colleges back then and the college price now. And it is primarily, believe it or not inflation, but it is the fact that we had a lot of government loan programs that came into surface in 1973, Sallie Mae being one of them. And when you have government loans instead of private loans, more people are going to be applicable to accept the government loan than the private loan, because a private loan would come from somebody like me or you, for example. If I see someone wants to go to university, but I look at their work ethic and I say they really don't have it, I don't think it would be in their best interest for them to use my money to go fund their education if I don't think they're going to put their best foot forward. We wouldn't give them that loan, and that loan would not be in existence. But the government loan, whether you're going to college to pursue a career and becoming an investment banker, or you're just going to party for one semester and leave, the government loan, you're going to be more likely to be accepted for that. If you actually go on the Pell Grant website, one of the things I find super ironic is the fact that Pell Grant eligibility, what it says is the greater your financial need is, the more likely it is that you'll be eligible for a Pell Grant. Now think about that. Out of all the people attending college, who are the people in the greatest financial need? Minorities. And this is why I draw that correlation to slavery, because they're keeping us in bondage through loans. Think about it. If I don't have the money to go and fund my career, but the government will give me money, and they will give me money with a rate of interest tied to the back end, and then I have to pay that. I graduate from college, now I want to get a car, but I don't have the cash power to go and buy a car cash, so I have to finance a car, another loan. Then I want to settle down with my family later in life, but I don't have enough money to put down to actually be a sufficient down payment, so my mortgage payments per month are going to be higher. And it's a continuous cycle of debt, and you're not designed to be able to escape. And it's similar to a hamster wheel, because most people, as they make more money, they're going to spend more money, but they're going to spend money that's not theirs, and they're going to keep on running in this hamster wheel that the debt is cycling and cycling and cycling. And the ironic thing about the student loan payments is 5% of the people who are actually applicable for this relief, there's 5% of the people are senior citizens, which is so ironic. So people who are senior citizens, and I believe that's either over 62 or over 65, are still drowning in debt. So this just goes to show that debt is now a more efficient way to keep you enslaved, because back in the day, if you're a slave that's 40 years old, you're no longer as useful to the slave owner than the slave that's 14 years old and has a lot of longevity ahead of him. Shifting slavery from chattel and physical to mental has elongated the amount of time that they have to keep you enslaved, because now it's a lifetime. You're just going to have to keep paying them back, keep working more jobs that you hate, keep working longer hours just to pay them back. That is how this system is set up. But I did get a tad bit off topic. One of the things that I was going to say, and I'm going to finish the video out with this, is the reason why we've had such a dramatic price increase in the cost of university is not because of inflation. It's simply because the government is allowing more people to go to college. And this is what has been promoted. Lots of people believe, because of the propaganda, that college is the only route to achieve greatness in life. And that's simply not true. But because it's been promoted this way, lots of people believe it, and therefore they take the bait. They believe that if they don't go to college, they can't be successful, which is simply not true. But because I've believed this, Organizations like Sally Mae have came into fruition, and they offer students loans to go to school. And the thing is, since it's a government backed loan and not a private loan, more people are applicable. So when more people are applicable, more people are accepted, more people get loans, and this is what causes the population of universities to increase. But the law of supply and demand does not discriminate whether it is food, whether it is school, whether it is clothing. The law of supply and demand simply states that the more something is in demand, the higher the price is going to go. So at a university that used to only have 5,000 people, now 15,000 people are coming to the university. You can expect the cost of college to skyrocket. And so many people are in debate whether college is worth it or not. And that is completely up to you, but you do have to weigh the pros and cons. What if I don't go to college? What if I do? What if I take this loan? What if I don't? There's so much that we have to understand. We have to do a better job of educating not only ourselves, but the ones that are younger than us. Because sometimes our ignorance leads us to paying lifetime bondage payments to these colleges. We may make $65,000 a year, but we owe $200,000 to the university. And when we add that up, that just doesn't make sense. So I would really love to get your feedback. What do you think of this? What do you think of the student loan relief? Do you think this is something to help more people, or is this something just to boost midterm elections? Let me know in the comments. The choice is yours.